Good news, bad price.
So the market is in a state of extreme fear right now. Mike, I can feel you trembling.
I got liquidated like when I set my order really low. I didn't even use 5x, I used like 2x.
Okay, so anyway, there's this fear and greed index that we found, and this particular index actually put together certain findings from the market, and it gives it a rating. And currently, it's predicted that the current market sentiment is in the extreme fear region.
So their range is about 0 to 100. So 100 means the market is extremely greedy. 0 means the market is extremely fearful. Currently, we are at about 19. And it's kind of been going down over the past few weeks, especially with the ETF. Right? So last month it was 29. Then it dropped. It went up to 36. The news about the ETF coming up, and then after it went to 23, and now it's at 19.
Yeah, so the index is actually made out of a few pointers. Let me just kind of elaborate on it. First of all, volatility, 25%. Market momentum / volume, 25%. Social media, 15%. Surveys, 15%. Dominance, 10%. And trends, 10%.
Okay, so they cover a lot of stuff lah. So now we always say that when you trade without emotions, right? So at this point, Andy, should I be fearful? Or should I see it as an opportunity?
Well, this is the greatest question of all time, Mike. But okay, there's this particular thing or an idea. Look at it this way. Now, extreme fear could also mean that the market is extremely oversold, right? Yes. With a lot of greed, it also meant the market is overbought, and therefore there's a need for a downward correction, right? So when you have extreme fear hitting the market, everyone is dumping into Tether, into US dollars, or into something, whatever. They are basically selling off everything out of fear that BTC or Bitcoin is going to drop to $3,000 and below, right? There's a lot of fear in them. And therefore, this is created by the market itself. This is all about traders' mentality. However, that being said, when people would ask me, in terms of investing point of view, should I buy into Bitcoin? The first question I always ask is, how long of a horizon do you have? Right? Do you have a year, 2 years, 5 years? Then the price really doesn't matter as much. The only question here is the upside potential or the upside percentage, right? So when you look at the current price, it's 6,400, 6,500, hovering that level. When they ask me over the last few days, I just tell them buy. Because if you're planning to hold it for the next 2 to 3 years, the price doesn't really matter, right? You will just sit out of all the volatility. At the end of the day, 2 years later, when the halving comes in, your Bitcoin will still be appreciating, right? In that sense. So should you really be fearful? This fearful, in that sense, is created by the market. And therefore, you get affected. You mentally, emotionally, you get affected because of what the market is priced in. But the whole idea here is, I feel it's the best opportunity. Now, if you haven't got into the market, if you haven't got enough into the market, this could be one of the best times to kind of accumulate into BTC, because what we know is that a lot of institutions are looking at it. There are so many good news on it, but the price is not reflecting it as of now. So
let's look at the good news side, right? So we have BitMEX. So their daily trading volume hit 1 million BTC again. So their first time it hit on like 24th. Why damn? So the first time they hit was like 24th July 2018. So they've just hit it again, and it's only been like less than half a month.
So I think Mike actually contributed to a small percentage of that volume too.
I think all of us contributed a small percentage, but they didn't say whether they won or lost trade, like just trading volume, right?
Volume, right? Okay. Yeah, okay.
So one of the reasons for this is their ETH USD has a perpetual swap contract now. So that is why Arthur Hayes says that may be one of the reasons why the trading volume is so high. Right. So next up, so BitMEX, everyone knows, is a big margin exchange.
Margin trading,
So the next one is Barclays. So it's an investment bank by Britain. So they're sponsoring a hackathon to see whether they can use blockchain for derivatives.
Right.
So you want to give a brief talk of what's a derivative?
Well, a derivative product could actually mean that it's, for instance, if I want to invest into gold, right? Or if I want to invest into Bitcoin, but I don't want to physically own that particular asset, I could just basically own a paper contract of that particular asset that's like a derivative or derived value of that particular item or physical asset in that sense.
You are doing in layman terms.
So think of it as a potted plant. Okay, this potted plant is very, very valuable. It's maybe worth, this bonsai, maybe it's worth 50,000 for instance. But I do not want to own this physically. Okay, I do not want to put it at home. Rather, I just want to own the futures or the contract to this, that the paper says that I do own this plant, but I don't have to keep the plant. The bank will keep it for me. So I basically own that piece of paper in that sense.
Okay, well, that made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is the US Patent and Trademark Office, so which is short form, I assume it's called USPTO or USPTO.
Okay.
So they showed that some large companies are having patents being applied down there. So we have Microsoft, we have IBM, we have Northern Trust Corporation, we have British Telecommunications, and JP Morgan, just being some of the few of them. They have applied for patents in the distributed ledger technology space, also known as blockchain.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I guess this is once again looking at institutions who are trying to come into the space. We also know that there are services catering for these people now. So, not only are they trying to make their own patents for blockchains, they also have people catering to them like Huobi, right? They opened up an account for institutions to be able to get in. Okay? So, the next one up is also Bucked. So, if any of you don't know what Bucked is, right, it is set up by the founder of NYSE.
Alright,
Spencer.
Yeah.
So he is one of the people doing it, and he and his wife worked for about 14 months before they came out with this idea. So they are planning to launch it in November, right? And it aims to be a combined solution for everything. So they do settlement, they do storage, they do delivery of Bitcoin. So basically, they are working with giants in the space, right? So they are working with Microsoft. So it will have cloud expertise. They are working with Starbucks, which interestingly enough has more mobile payments than like Apple Pay, right? Which is a bit like, whoa. Okay? And Boston Consulting Group. So these people, they are getting together. They're trying to make Bitcoin a global currency in every sense of the word, not just the way we use it now in white papers. Right? So all this is good news. And we haven't seen the price reflect that yet. And as Andy says, what news is volume? Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, think of it this way, all right? If we were to apply sentiment analysis or fundamental analysis, and you combine it with technical analysis, or you just kind of assimilate and integrate it together, it's very simple to understand. News or good news are like volume. All right, they kind of decide the underlying sentiment of the market, and they kind of underlie the sentiment of a chart, basically. So the price movement of a candle is led on by volume, right? So volume fuels it, right? So in that sense, when you have a lot of news, you have impending volume, kind of, in a technical point of view, if you look at it. But price, it's much like value, it's much like demand and supply. How people interpret the current value of that particular thing is based on the chart, it's based on the price movement. That has to be interpreted with sentiment, or that has to be interpreted as supply and demand. So people or traders right now are too focused on an ETF that basically has no impact whatsoever to the value of cryptocurrencies. So in a way, people are not looking at the intrinsic value of Bitcoin, they are looking at the price of Bitcoin, at the price of Bitcoin. That is the demand and supply of it, but they're not looking at the value or the intrinsic value of it. So this is how or what is happening, right? It's all about speculation, it's all about hype, and therefore price has so much focus, but not the volume and the news, which is actually the underlying value or underlying reason why a particular asset has a value.
And we all know that the price always lags behind the news, right? So news comes first, price takes a while to catch up.
And then volume will kick in later on. It's like an underlying river behind everything, right?
So if you're too worried, just if let's say you're losing money this year, right? Just think back 2 years ago, Bitcoin is still much cheaper than it is today. Even after we went out to a spike, even after we had the fall, it's still worth much more than we had 2 years ago. And it's likely to be worth much more 2 years later. So, you know, so take a step back, relax.
Yeah, just kind of look towards 2 years later, you know, and most importantly, just enjoy today, enjoy your weekends.
If you want to stay updated with the latest blockchain and cryptocurrency news, do catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 AM Eastern Standard Time or 8 PM Singapore Standard Time. Consider subscribing to our channel and don't forget to click on the notification bell. We'll see you in the next episode.